guys.
Hi guys.
Welcome back to one of our episodes. You guys seem to like these, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to please come up with a name for these episodes. It can even be a bit unhinged. We'll take it. So drop it in the comments. Yeah, we smark it. Drop it in the comments what you think we should be calling these little episodes. Yeah. So today's topic, I think this is quite a cool one, is the effects of overtraining. A lot of times people think that you can't overtrain, but that's actually a lie. Overtraining has quite a few downfalls.
There is a lot of debate on can you overtrain, can you not? And a lot of the bro science guys will definitely be in the realm of you can't overtrain. But if we really look at this again from a clinical point of view, injury occurrence. So again, this is the form police. And I mean, look, as trainers, we all like to have people to have sound form. Form and technique tend to not be as influential in injuries as people think it is. Injuries are really multifaceted sort of discussion. But what we do find is that volume is a really good indicator of injury occurrence. And so volume and overtraining go hand in hand. There is 100% still a lot of nuances to overtraining. Sometimes even when your volume isn't seriously bad, there are still factors like nutrition, sleep, that emotional stress, big one as well. So yes, it isn't always overtraining. It is the other side, which is under recovering. That's also a really big point as well. But we're going to touch just on the overtraining aspect. The really common term nowadays is junk volume. So excessive junk volume for the work for the sake of doing work. And what we tend to find is, yes, the more volume you add, the more you have to recover from. So yes, if you can't be a full-time athlete that has a whole recovery protocol and getting enough sleep and your nutrition's on point, your emotional stress is low, sometimes it does mean you are going to have to reduce your training volume. If you aren't happy with that, maybe a way of looking at it is reducing volume per session and increasing frequency per week. So you kind of, maybe get a little bit of the best of both worlds. And then, consequences would be sleep starts to be significantly impacted. Appetite becomes significantly impacted. You're going to find you are pretty hungry all the time. Emotional and physical stress is going to be up. So overtraining really is a valid concept and something to try avoid. It's not to say that never train hard, but it's about being realistic about your weekly load. So with everything that's going on in your life at the time, how much volume can you do and how much workload can you achieve relative to everything else going on in your life? So it's not saying take it easy. I think that's also the misconception is we still want you training, let's again on that's RPE scale, like 8, 9, 10, but about the amount of volume you're doing at that given workload. So it's not actually saying you have to train lighter or less intense. Again, with periodization, you should be having that anyway. It's not all out all the time, but train hard and play around with your volume. It's a really nice way of actually sort of playing around with the overtraining problem.
If I can speak from my own personal experiences, the moment I started overtraining, there was a significant reduction in my strength. For example, if we had to say I was working sets of 100 kilos for bench press, week 1 and 2, I could bust out 8 to 10 reps. But by week 4 and 5, I was battling to get 6. Joints started to hurt and my body just felt broken. And not broken as in the muscles were tight. Everything felt broken. My nervous system would take a massive knock. And then what would happen from that, because you can't push the amount of weight that you usually push, your self-esteem and your confidence goes out the window, because now I'm like, 2 weeks ago I could do this, now I can't do this. So then you start to think you're failing at your performance, when in actuality you're not. You're just tired, your body's just run down. So then the form of depression starts to kick in because of the performance aspect. Your diet goes out the way because now you're tired, so you're disciplined to say no to things. So you start eating whatever you can get your hands on just to try and find energy from it to recover. So there's so many negative side effects. The point is, you might think you're doing yourself a justice by training so hard, but you're actually not. You're making your recovery so much worse, and your performance gets hindered drastically. After realizing that I couldn't keep up with the load, we then reduced the working sets. So working sets dropped from 4 down to only 2. And then within like 2 to 3 weeks, you could see the performance change again, like started increasing. So overtraining will affect you not only from a physical aspect, but from an emotional and mental aspect as well. So don't try and do junk volume. And the bodybuilders, they love the junk volume. You don't need that. You just need a proper structured program, and you need to listen to your body. When your body feels like it's broken, take that rest day, take 2 rest days, and also make sure in your training program you've got a deload week where you can just go and move your body and not worry about hitting those big weights.
And another point, just with the reference of bodybuilding, obviously certain sports and realms have a tendency for performance enhancing drugs, PEDs. And I think that's also when taking advice from individuals, one, that they understand whether yes, you are or aren't on PEDs, and the person you're getting advice from understanding whether or not. Some people out there with incredible knowledge on PEDs and really good at guiding athletes through that. And then there are those individuals that are on PEDs that a real brute mindset about things, which is just, come on, do more. And you know what? It's really important that you're taking advice from people that understand your situation. So again, large number of coaches that are really good at covering the PED side of things are also really good at covering individuals that aren't on PEDs. But sadly, there are a large number of individuals that have come into the industry just from that type of background and maybe don't really grasp the concept that, I think because there's a lot of pushback there is a lot of talk from people that aren't on PEDs that look at people on them and go, oh, you're only good because of that, which isn't true. At the end of the day, you still have to work hard. Obviously, PEDs is going, and then again, on the side with people on PEDs, don't like to admit the fact that the PEDs are making a significant difference, because they are. Like, it's foolish to say they're not, because if they didn't make a significant difference, you wouldn't be taking them. Bit of a no-brainer. But that's also a different discussion on the amount of volume and the amount of, in a sense, punishment a body can take, whether you're on or off, and just making sure that the person you're getting advice from understands that, yes, there is a difference between people about training modalities for people on and off PEDs. And then probably the last note from me is maybe a part we haven't touched on with regards to the overtraining is how it just takes away from the fun. I think a number of times I've had a number of sporting disciplines, and look, you it's not going to be all fun all the time, hands down. I mean, like, I think sometimes if you don't hate it a little bit, sometimes you're probably not pushing yourself enough if you're not questioning whether or not you should be doing this with regards to any sport. But as a whole, I mean, if it's months on end and you're just not having fun, then you also gotta know you have a problem. Don't underestimate the psychological component of it. You need to be enjoying what you do. You can even, trust me, you can enjoy suffering, because like if suffering is still leading to progress, great. But I mean, if you're suffering and you're just kind of going backwards, hands down, your enjoyment is going to be destroyed, and you will find that at some point you're just going to outright quit.
That's quite an important part, is the fun element. I think I'm talking from experience again, with every powerlifting comp, the first 3 weeks I'm like, oh wow, this is great fun, and then like the last 4 weeks of the prep, I am hating it. I start questioning, why do I do this sport? Why am I putting my body through so much pain and agony? And it's really for that one day of fun when you compete, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this again. I can do this for the rest of my life. So the fun element is really important when it comes to your training. Yeah, so that's it. Remember, we want a name for this series.
Yes.
Give us a name. The most unhinged name you can think of. And like, follow, share, and comment. Doesn't Grant look sexy in a yellow cap? All right, guys. Bye.